It's Friday, January 30th, 2026. I'm meteorologist Brian Shields. Thank you for joining us on Snow Bros. This is the system we've been tracking all week. It is on track from what Matt and I have been talking about over the last few videos. I want to zoom down for some of the snow totals. The version of the model we're leaning to with this system as this nor'easter develops, how close it's going to get to some spots in the northeast, the heavier snow Atlantic region to Canada, and a very significant and record-breaking snow potential of that for the Carolinas, both North and South Carolina, plus that cold air plunge. It is going to be so cold back through Florida as we work our way through the weekend, in particular on Sunday morning. I want to zoom down to some of those wind chills. We'll cover all of that in this video. Now let's start with the snow that we're going to see again. I mentioned the Carolinas, Southern Virginia, very close to other parts of the mid-Atlantic, northeast and up toward the Atlantic region of Canada. We'll cover those snow totals, but let me show you how this system forms and the winds with it. And this is very critical, and I use this map quite a bit because it really pinpoints exactly where we're going to see the center of this forming. Now the winds, I think, just down a touch as this develops offshore. So with that, those gusts, the Outer Banks of North Carolina, we're looking at some of the wind gusts as we head through our Saturday at about 50 miles per hour. Could be a little bit higher in a few spots, especially Kitty Hawk as we swing back toward Duck, and we'll see that southerly flow back through the Chesapeake. But there it is. There is the center of it. Look at the yellows in this. Those would be winds of about 90 miles per hour. Again, this is the terrain back through here, but this is the center. Now this misses the 40-70 point. That's a point sitting over here. It's going to miss it south and east, and I just bring that up because that always indicates, or usually indicates, a lesser of a snow event back toward the northeast. And we keep it in perspective on this channel. It's a no hype channel. We just want to tell you where the snow is going to go or not go as well. And then as we swing back through Sunday into Monday, the center of this works right back toward near Nova Scotia, back toward Newfoundland. But on this orientation, on the path of this nor'easter, for some of us, no snow at all. I know sometimes the other entities, other channels make it feel like everyone's getting 10 feet of snow. That is definitely not the case with a system like this. So let me start wide just to give you a feel, and then zoom down where the snow is going to be, but also how close. How close does it get to Long Island, New Jersey? As we swing back toward the Cape, we'll cover that. But here's the snow as we work our way into Saturday. Southern Virginia, parts of North Carolina, South Carolina, clipping Georgia as well. Tennessee, Kentucky, watching that. But the center more offshore. This is Sunday. Just again, zooming out, that would keep any snow away from New York City, for example, and then work its way on Monday as we get back towards Sunday night into Monday through the Atlantic region to Canada, the heavier snow over toward Newfoundland, for example. Now, here's the zoomed down look, and this is the American model, but very on track from a version of the European model. I'll show you in just a second. So this here's our Saturday morning. Some of the snow starting as we work our way back through much of North Carolina, and then as we work our way back through South Carolina, even watching over toward Knoxville, seeing some of that snow around. Here's Atlanta right here. So there's the snow near Athens. Augusta seeing some of that snow. Columbia, and then it really fills in as we go throughout the day and gets heavy. Charlotte, Greensboro seeing some of the snow. We're going to be watching that. Wake Forest back toward UNC, Duke, swinging back toward Greenville for some of the snow. Here's Long Beach. So you get into the south side of North Carolina. Again, not necessarily quite as much snow. Could be a little bit heavier back through Columbia, Charlotte, kind of rounding out through Greensboro, back toward Raleigh, and then over toward Greenville. There's some of the snow. Southern sections of Virginia. Here's Richmond. Richmond, we're going to be on the edge of this pretty much the entire time. So it's really a tough call on Richmond on how much snow we'll get. Virginia Beach seeing the snow. Here's Kill Devil Hills. So you get over toward Kitty Hawk and Corolla. There's the snow, and still by the time we get into Saturday night, tomorrow night, the snow on the Outer Banks of North Carolina. But at this point, the system starts to work a little bit more toward the east. So it kind of pulls it away, right? And that includes Delmarva. Watching Delmarva, we'll zoom down in just a second with the potential of some snow totals covering Delaware, back through New Jersey. And then we draw our attention on Sunday. This is Sunday morning, up toward Cape Cod, swinging back toward Nantucket in Martha's Vineyard. Oak Bluff's going to be right on the edge of it. Could see a snow maybe significant over toward, say, Harwichport, maybe not as much as you get back towards Sandwich, kind of that fine line. Then we get back toward Nova Scotia, right in through here, watching Maine, keeping an eye on New Hampshire, watching the rest of Massachusetts. We'll get into this in just a moment, but a significant snow for Nova Scotia. So southern Maine, coastal Maine, we're going to be right on the edge of this. That's going to be a tough call, coastal sections of Maine, but Nova Scotia, significant snow, and then back through Newfoundland as we work our way into Sunday night and Monday, although we may get a little mixing, a little bit of that rain, just depending on the track of this as it lifts up to the north as we get back toward the Avalon Peninsula, and then later on Monday, the rest of the snow starts to depart Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, New Brunswick, on the edge of it. So let me show you the European model. We don't just look at the different models, we tweak them behind the scenes, and sometimes I flip back to a version of a model that I think is doing better, and this is the one that I'm leaning to as far as the snow is concerned. This would be by midday tomorrow, about 1 o'clock on our Saturday afternoon. Snow showers in some spots, but again, Knoxville and really off toward the east. That's where we're going to see the better chance of snow. Some snow showers possible in Atlanta, but really the marker seems to be you get back toward Athens, and then I mentioned swinging back towards South Carolina and North Carolina for that snow. Keeping an eye on Savannah and Charleston, may get a little bit of that rain mixing in. We'll be on the edge of it, but this could be a record-setting snow for parts of really South Carolina in particular. This here would be, and again, this is really in line with what I just showed you, but it shows you how close it is. Here's Fredericksburg, here's Richmond on the edge of it. Fredericksburg, we could see a little bit of snow. Any shift, though, could bring a significant snow more onto the coast, but we should at least get some snow. I mentioned over toward Norfolk, Virginia Beach, right up through parts of the Chesapeake, southern Delmarva, really Dover, really almost south of Dover, but Rehoboth, we could see a significant snow. You get into northern Delaware, you're approaching, say, the Wilmington area, maybe nothing at all. Same thing over toward Philly, just on the edge of it. As we work our way back toward New Jersey, get over toward Cape May, Stone Harbor, we could see some snow, but you're talking about North Jersey. Get over toward Summit, not seeing anything at all. Same thing, New York. This should be generally a miss, but Long Island, we may be a bit split where we at least get clipped by a little bit of snow. This would be by the time we get into Sunday evening. So you work your way back toward the Hamptons, a better chance of snow. You swing back closer from Uniondale back toward Brooklyn as we get over toward the boroughs, maybe nothing at all. In Providence, New Bedford, Fall River, Newport, we've been on the edge of this the entire time. Here's Hartford, maybe a couple snow showers. The European model does bring the snow a little bit more across the Cape, so then we'd be watching the South Shore, watching Boston as well, Plymouth, Marshfield, and then swinging back toward Lowell. Then we keep an eye on, here's Vermont, watching the rest of New York. Swinging back toward New Hampshire. It would take a significant shift to bring a significant snow back toward New Hampshire at this point, but coastal Maine back toward Nova Scotia, that's where we could see that heavier snow. So again, on the edge of it, this would be a sampling of Sunday evening. So you swing back, right here's Long Island, right? Maybe nothing at all in New York City, parts of Long Island, but as we swing closer toward the Hamptons and Block Island, that's where we could get the snow. Hartford, Glastonbury, not a lot. Maybe nothing in New Haven, but seeing that snow as we work our way back toward New London, and then we work our way back toward Providence, that's where we could see at least some snow showers, but we could get a few inches. If this just kind of nudges back, there could be some snow watching Newport back through Providence. Here's Boston. Worcester, kind of that marker on the edge. Western Mass, not a whole lot. Albany, we're not looking at an event out of this. Manchester will be on the edge. But you see back toward Falmouth, that's where we could see some of that snow, but it could be heavier. We work our way back toward Chatham. That's where it could be, where we could see upwards of maybe a foot of snow, depending on how this breaks. But Cape Cod, it's really going to be a difficult call. That's just how it is with this. It's a well-advertised system, so we'll be watching it together as we go forward. Then by the time we get into Sunday night, Monday morning, you see that coastal Maine that I mentioned, really not a whole lot northern sections, but along the coast, closer to New Brunswick, closer to Nova Scotia, the heavier snow, and this is by the time we get into Monday morning. And I mentioned toward the Avalon Peninsula, I actually see some of that rain that will be working in. So that version of the European plus the American I showed you, a good sampling of what we'll get. So we'll lean to these snow totals, but you see that huge difference. Fredericksburg, maybe an inch or two, maybe a little bit more, and we still, of course, have all of the ice in so many spots. But you just go down 95, you hit over toward Richmond, we're looking at about 7 inches. That's going to be a possibility. Knoxville, maybe a couple. I mentioned that's the marker. Knoxville, Athens, in toward the east. That's where we're looking, just to kind of give you a feel for that snow. But 5, 6, 7 inches parts of South Carolina, that could break some records as far as the snow goes. It is going to stay tricky as we work our way along the coast, Charleston, Myrtle Beach. It is difficult to see more of that, see if any rain sneaks in, but to see kind of the heavier bands just to the north. That's where more of it should be. Wilmington maybe 6, about 10 in Jacksonville, Raleigh about 9, Winston-Salem. We're pushing about 10 inches. Please be safe again as we swing back toward the hills, the mountains. Norfolk, though, on the edge of a foot of snow. And of course, watching over toward Roanoke in Blacksburg as well. We could see some of the snow kind of building back where we could see half a foot of snow depending on how this breaks. So we'll be watching that. But you see, as we work our way over toward D.C., back toward Baltimore, I mentioned Delmarva on the edge of it as far as some of that snow goes. I do want to highlight that. I want to jump back real quickly here. You see that yellow shading there. So Salisbury, for example, that could lend itself to 5 or 6 inches of snow. But if it just shifts a few miles away, it would be nothing. If it shifts a little bit closer, some of this red could start to move in, and that could give us a foot. So that's why it's a wide spread of anywhere from 5 to maybe 11 inches in Salisbury. Just a huge discrepancy. And then I mentioned the big differences in Delaware there and over toward southern New Jersey, coastal New Jersey, along the shore where we could see some of that snow. You see northern sections, not a lot, maybe some snow showers, Poconos, Scranton, Philly on the edge of it. This model looking at about 3 inches. And again, this is jumping back to a slightly older version that I think has a better handle on this system, but it does keep the swath of the bigger snow for many of us offshore. Again, I mentioned where the snow doesn't go as well, but the Cape, that is going to be tricky back through parts of Rhode Island the entire time. In eastern sections of Massachusetts, Cape Cod Bay, those strong winds coming down out of the north could be a little bit of a backup in some spots with that coastal flooding, with that northerly flow. But here's Delmarva as we work our way for some of those totals. And you see how just a little bit of a shift. You see that red in there? That would be about a foot of snow, 1.5 feet. If that just shifts a little bit closer, that could bring us significant snow. Or it shifts a little bit away, we'll see. But that big swath keeps heaviest snow regardless off toward the south and east of, say, New York. But as we work our way toward eastern Long Island, that's where we could see some sections of 1/2 foot. But you work your way back toward New York, maybe 3 inches, we'll see. This could be a total miss, right? This is a model, and I'm mentioning that if it stays kind of what I'm seeing this morning, there could be nothing in here, right? Nothing at all. So we're just kind of monitoring this area back through Waterbury, Hartford, Springfield, back toward Worcester, but the Cape in particular, swinging back toward Boston, down through Providence and Newport. Those are some of the spots we're watching very carefully because it's just that fine line. This is how it goes with the nor'easter. You know better than anyone else. And then watching that heavier snow as we swing back toward Nova Scotia. I know some of the data glitches out, but we'll get some totals over 30 centimeters. But watching coastal sections of Maine, it could be anywhere from 1 inch or 2 if it's just that glancing blow. But if this just nudges a little bit more to the north, that's where when we could get over 1/2 foot of snow. So yeah, it's going to be tricky in some spots, but overall, it's been generally holding together as we go forward. Now, watching the cold air with this huge plunge of some colder air that is going to be sweeping in. Of course, it's in place for many, but this dives down to the south. Look at some of these temperatures. Now, these numbers we're seeing here are some of the wind chills we're going to have as we get back towards Central and South Florida, North Florida, as we work our way into Sunday morning. In the teens for those wind chills, could even be in the single digits in spots with some of those wind chills as we work our way into Sunday morning in particular across Florida. A deep freeze could be some of the coldest air, not just in the last 10 to 15 years in Florida. If it just drops a degree or two, even more so, it could be the coldest weather in over 50 years. In some spots. That's how cold it's going to get. So the winter storm, the nor'easter, if you will, developing today should miss to the south and east of that 40-70 point, that long line that I kind of watch for these systems. So that means a close call. There could be some changes. So we're going to put out another update. If you're subscribed, you'll get that. But it should be a miss more to the south and east. Huge coastal concerns with the winds, with those seas, and tracking for those small shifts. So again, parts of Virginia, it looks like Carolinas, we're getting the snow, but parts of Virginia, Delmarva on the edge, New Jersey on the edge, keeping an eye on parts of New York, including Long Island. And then we're watching Rhode Island, Massachusetts, back through Connecticut, New Hampshire, Maine, and then up through the Atlantic region to Canada. So we're going to put out some more updates. So we got you covered here on Snow Bros. Hope you have a good day ahead.